Hello everyone, welcome back to the workshop, and today I want to walk you through a process I have in enhancing my business by working with other local small businesses in business-to-business dealings. And so in this case, we customized some clothing, we did some screen printing on the back of the shirts, we augmented that with some DTF transfers on the front, and then also we customized some hats with some leatherette patches. So I'm going to show you how I use the lasers and a few other tools to get this done. Maybe it'll be something you can use in your workshop too to increase your business. So sounds interesting to you? Stay tuned. We're going to jump right into it. All right, first we are going to talk about the hats we made. Now this company has a fairly unique logo and it is fairly detailed. And so this is where having the lasers and having a fine point laser can work really well. And so we're going to be making these patches. This is out of leatherette. So this is some synthetic leather. And they make it in a few different styles, but all of them tend to have it's a two-tone, so you're actually just burning away the top layer. So that's a silver underneath black. This is a black underneath purple, if I can get to focus there. And then here's another where it is gray with black underneath. There are a number of different color combinations from a number of different providers. And the other thing to look out for is the reverse side is going to be a little bit different too. So some of them are just natural leather, such as this one. Then you have this one, which is more of like a felt kind of backing to it. And then also this one, which actually has this adhesive. So if I peel this back, it actually reveals an adhesive layer. So depending on what you're going to be doing with them and how you are going to be attaching them or not to your item, you're going to want to make sure you're buying the right kind. Now we're going to be dealing with the adhesive back stuff. And to apply these, we're actually also going to be using a heat press. So I've used this in the past with some other lasers, but they've been lower power lasers, 5 and 10 watts. Which work really great for the engraving, but sometimes get a little bit questionable on the cutting. And so, as always, you want to do a speed and power test. And so I was going to be using the xTool S1 40 watt, so I needed to run a new power test. So got that set up, ran this power test, and came up with the results you see here. And there is a slight gradient from bottom to top, but what we're looking for is getting the coloration without going too deep. If you go too deep into this, you start getting beyond the color layer into some fibers, and it can not look as good. What we ended up running with on this one is 300 millimeters a second and about 20% power right up the top there. So that gave us a nice dark engraving without it being really deep into those fibers. Once we had that set up, I could import the graphic into xTool Creative Space, and I set my parameters up based on this for an engraving, and also had some settings for cutting as well. That worked well to do the circle around the outside. So nice thing was I was able to take a slice of this leatherette and get 5 patches across, maximizing that both the material as well as the engraving. The engraving only took about 20 minutes, and the cut was, you really want to dial this in to where it just cuts through the leather, but doesn't leave a lot of extra charring. And so when I got done with this, I just had to kind of pull them right through. They were just barely hanging on from that final layer on that back, but it was just enough to get through the leather. So then we got to move over to the hat press. Now, this is the cheapest hat press you can probably find out there. It's from a company called Vevor, and they make some less expensive tools. Some of them you may find you got to do a little bit of jury rigging on them, but this one, from time to time, you can find it right around $100. I think it averages about $150, but depending on the sale, sometimes you can find it pretty cheap. And so if you're looking at doing small batch items, maybe this is just a hobby for you. You want to do a few things for a group, family reunion or baseball team for your kids kind of thing, or you're a real small business, just want to start in it. You could get by with this one, but there are better hat presses out there. So we got the temperature setting and set up our time on there as needed and let the press warm up. Now I did find I needed to make a little bit of adjustments to this based on the hat. Now these hats, these are the Richardson 112 hats, and they have just kind of a little bit of a crown, here it curls back. And so when it's sitting in the hat press, trying to find that where it would sit really nicely, but not push down and create any creases. I found that I needed to add a little bit of extra backer to it. And that's one of the kind of the shortcomings of this real basic hat press is they really only have the one padding on there. So I used just a simple towel. You could use some foam rubber or something. You just want to give a little extra support here so it's not like getting creased in, and when that heat hits it, it's like an iron, it's going to heat it up, and you could add creases. So there's a little bit of trial and error here with that, and I actually didn't lock it down. I just kind of held it in place, kind of feeling to where there was pressure on the hat, enough to hold it, but not said it was locking it down and going to cause any creases in the hat. But once I had that figured out, each one of these took about 15 seconds. Now I played around with, sometimes you want to put that silicone pad over the top. I found that it wasn't necessarily needed on all these, so I just rolled right through them. And after getting the patches cut out, like I said, that took about 20 minutes on the laser. Each one of these, 15 seconds in the press. So I would say I did the hats, maybe 2 a minute after kind of getting them positioned, holding it down, letting it cool off, moving. So you can really kind of get through these fairly quickly. And so it's something that with the right tools, and if you got the even better hat press, and Vevor makes a few, and there's other companies that make a lot of them that have lots of adjustments and temperatures, settings, and clamping and auto release, you can really fly through these. So definitely hats is something that can do really well. And this was something where, your embroidery shops with this really fancy logo there, with the kind of the lithograph drawing, they struggle with that. So the leather with the leatherette worked really well. So that part of the project was done, and we wanted to move on to the shirts. With this shirt and the fancy logo, of course, I thought, hey, we've got the xTool screen printer. Let's put it to the test with this. And I had tried this out earlier, trying to get this logo to print fairly well through the screen printing, but just struggling with getting the detail of this image without blasting through the screen too much. I could probably play around a little bit more, break the image up a little more so I have higher settings on part of it, lower on the other, but to save some time of trial and error and screen work, ended up using what's called DTF. Now you can order these, but what DTF is, it's called direct to film. And so you end up ordering the transfers, and they come on this kind of this Mylar film, and it's basically ink that is printed on the film, and then it's use heat transfer to place it onto your fabric or whatever it is you're going to do. So we just made sure that these were no bigger than my heat press with that hat. And while it's not necessarily the right tool for it, using a little bit of silicone tape to hold these in place them on all the shirts, and then again, set the temperature and the time for these, heat it in the press for about 15 seconds, and then you let it cool. So I'd set these to the side, peel this off, and then sometimes I would put it back in, put the silicone cover back on, and that just gives it an extra pressing, and sometimes actually gives a little bit of extra texture, so it even better mimics the look of screen printing on this. But I've been using these with my own, such as this, for quite a while. Put these t-shirts through a number of washings, and I'm pretty happy with how these have come out. Now, there's a lot of different places you can order these online from. Some are a lot more expensive, some are cheaper. And so just make sure that before you start running these for customers, you do some of your own tests. You want to get some of their samples, or maybe run your own logo, put them on some t-shirts, put some on the clothing, run them through some wash cycles to be sure that it's going to hold up to your standards, and then hopefully your customer standards. So I'll have a link down below to where we purchased these. It's not an affiliate link at all, but just I've had success with them. They are a little more expensive than others, but knowing that I can trust them, that they're going to hold up, was how I decided, hey, let's go with them. They're a little more expensive, but in this lower run, it wasn't a big deal. We're talking about 9 or 10 t-shirts here versus 100. So the cost difference isn't as great. So I put these on first, knowing that I had to do the heat, and then I didn't have a really good way to separate the top from bottom layer. So I went through, applied all these. Again, that only took about 10 to 15 minutes with the setup to get through all these shirts. Once you kind of get into a system, you get them faster. And of course, if I had the actual right press, the 12 by 12 area, I probably could have just placed the t-shirts down, placed the transfer in place, and just pressed it without having to tape them all. But when you don't necessarily have every single tool that you could have, you make do with what you have. And I already had the hat press. I didn't want to take up the room and have the expense to buy the other one just for this initial order. Now, if I get more of these in and I do larger full prints on shirts, definitely it's something I would invest in. So after we had the DTF transfers done, it was time to finish up these shirts. We went ahead and started working with the screens. What they wanted was this saying on the back that says, "Know your farmer" and "Pampered Pork." So we looked at trying to replicate the font that they had for their logo. And after doing a test run with the screen, it just wasn't coming out the way either here I wanted. So we jumped back to another font, and that was looking a lot better. And so I just had to flip the screen around, burn it again so I could get it in the right place, and it was off to the screen printer. With this, again, it kind of comes to getting your plate set up right, getting everything positioned to where you can kind of slide your shirts on in the same orientation and kind of get them all lined up properly. But screen printing, I'm finding, is still a bit of an art. You got to know exactly kind of how much ink to lay out and how much pressure to run across it, because you can definitely put too little ink on and you'll have gaps in your print, or you can put too much ink on and it can start to bleed if you don't have everything sitting just right and holding still. And so with fabric, there's a little chance for it to move. And if there's any sort of gap where it's holding up off of there's a chance for it to just kind of bleed out a little bit. So definitely practice is something that's good with this, and getting the positioning right. But once I got that down, again, I was able to kind of breeze through these. You kind of go to school on the first one, and then the others all go a bit faster. So this is also, you have to let it either air dry or you can flash dry it. So here again, if I was going to do a lot of these, I would probably invest in one of these flash dryers. It's basically a big heat lamp, goes over it, and will help kind of quick cure the ink. I used a kind of a low air heat gun that I have for my model airplane stuff, just to kind of flash dry the ink before I pulled it off the plate. So each one probably took me a couple minutes, get the shirt set up, get it flattened out, make sure it was lined up, lay out the ink, squeegee it out, and then pull it up, ensure that it's good, and let it dry real quick before moving on to the next one. So again, this is great for kind of a small run like this. I was still able to get it done in a timely manner to where my time wasn't so expensive for him, but he could also afford to do a smaller run. So this is kind of where I'm finding this is a nice niche area to where people don't want to necessarily pay the setup fees and the printing fees for 50 to 100 shirts at a time, or maybe, the same in hats, where I can offer them at a similar price, but a smaller run. They're happy, I'm happy, and it builds relationships over time. They're going to go to markets and people are going to see their stuff. Vendors talk with each other. Hey, where did you get your tent set up? Where did you get this? Where did you get your custom apparel? And it can be a way to help augment your business by helping other small businesses. And so that was something with this one. Wanted to give it a shot and see how well it would run, see how my time would be with it. And hopefully over time, these hold up well for him. And I've got the screen. If he needs more, I can still run some more. It's easy to relaser some more patches, as well as order some more of those DTF transfers. So just kind of wanted to throw this out there, walk you through some of the process of doing these 3 different styles of customizing clothing, whether it's for yourself, whether it's for a hobby and a family, maybe a family reunion kind of thing, or if you want to incorporate it into your business. Kind of just think outside the box a little bit with the tools you have, how you can augment that. Like I said, I didn't buy a big heat press. I don't have the multi-tree screen printing thing. And these are all things that I can kind of put away on the shelf, set aside, and they don't cost a whole lot. So anyway, I hope this gave you some good ideas on doing some customization of clothing and apparel for your business or your fun. And if you have any questions or comments, go ahead and leave them down below. I'll try to expand on anything maybe I breezed over or you need some more on. I also have links down to the various equipment and materials I used in this. Like I say, I tried to go by with some of the things I had on hand or inexpensive items that you can add to your small business shop or your hobby shop. It doesn't break the bank or take up a ton of space, but allow you to do this as well. As always, a lot of these links will be affiliate links. They do provide a small kickback to me at no extra cost to you, but as always, no pressure. Anyway, thanks again for watching this video. I hope you found it informational, maybe educational or entertaining. And most of all, I hope you can get out into your workshop and make something too. We'll catch you next time.